Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. We are back with another episode of Daily Palantir. Folks, this is the top 7 moments for Palantir in 2024. Very excited for this episode. We're going to be digging into the 7 moments that I thought were the most important, influential, consequential, basically the biggest moments of 2024 for Palantir from a stock perspective, but also from a company perspective. Now, I think there's a lot of moments in 2024, and I actually had to do some research to narrow it down to 7. So I'm sure all of you guys have your own top 7 moments. If you would want to put in the comments your top 3 moments, top 5 moments, your top moment in general, then please feel free to do that, because I would love to kind of crowdsource all the different individual moments that people had in terms of how they experienced their own individual Palantir journey throughout the course of 2024. It is officially 2025. Happy New Year to everybody. Daily Palantir will be making an appearance back every single day, except Fridays. That's when we do Palantir Weekly, but Monday through Thursday, we will have a Daily Palantir episode. Also, dailypalantir.substack.com. That newsletter is coming back today as well. So we'll be going daily on the newsletter along with the Daily Palantir show as well. All right, so 2024 is over. We're in 2025. First of all, before we get started, I do want to say congratulations to everyone. The amount of messages that I've received over the past really 6 months from people in terms of how Palantir has affected their life, whether it's the content they've consumed that allowed them to better understand the company and the stock, whether it's being part of this community, this weird cult community, whatever you want to call it, right? That we're all a part of, that connects at this point millions of people across the world from different races, sexes, geographies, locations, all for this one idea, which is Palantir. It's just something so special and so rare. And then obviously, quite frankly, the stock has helped a lot of people. I've had multiple people reach out to me, people that dumped their entire 401k into the stock when it was trading in the single digits, people that are truckers and that, didn't really have a lot of cash in 2022. They took a risk on Karp. They never sold. Now they're up 10x. I mean, the beauty of Palantir, although the bears can't stand the valuation, is that average people like myself believed in the company when no one did. And the story has played out. The thesis has played out. It's so funny when I hear the bears complain about valuation, because yes, I do think Palantir is extended right now. But the only reason it's extended is because we bought it when no one wanted to buy it. And now the hedgies, the money managers, the big guys have to buy our shares at a premium because we're not willing to sell. And they have to pay a pretty big multiple on those shares simply because we're not, willing to give them up for cheap. So again, retail did not push this stock up to a $200 billion market cap. Anyone who believes that, I think they're fundamentally incorrect. I kind of think they don't know how math works. Palantir is not a name yet that has enough retail liquidity to have $200 billion worth of people caring about it. It's not Tesla. It's not Nvidia. It's not Amazon. Palantir is still relatively unknown to the far majority of the world. The big boys, and we know this through the numbers, went from 44% to 54% in terms of institutional holdings within about 3 months. A 10% increase in 3 months is likely because the big guys want to be part of the story. Maybe they want to pay a premium to be part of the story. The UBS report video I did last week about the $80 price target also explains why they want to be part of the story. But nonetheless, they want to be part of the story. And I think it's just so exciting that retail kind of got this one right a couple years ago. And as a result, retail gets to be up pretty nicely on the stock. So congratulations to everyone. Let's get into it. Here are my top 7 moments for Palantir for 2024. Okay, so let's get into it. This is in no particular order. I just compiled 7 things that I believe were the top moments for Palantir. Again, no order, but I'm going to start off with this one because I think this one probably is number 1, even though there's no order. But this one's got to take it. Palantir joining the S&P 500, representing the top 500 companies in the United States of America. Look, this was a big deal. What more can you say? This was a big freaking deal. This was a company that was never supposed to get anywhere near the S&P 500. This was a company that was never supposed to go public. I spoke to many Palantir alumni throughout this year that basically said it was a dream. It was a pipe dream to end up going public. Karp used to joke about it, but now they're here, and they're not only public, they are in the top 500 companies that represent public equities in the United States of America. And Palantir was the number 1 performing stock in the S&P 500 in 2024 at, I believe, 350 something percent year to date. Now, technically it joined in September, but still, if September is part of 2024, Palantir joined in 2024. In terms of the S&P 500 top performing names, Palantir was number 1. So what is the real takeaway from this for investors? I think, well, obviously institutional investors had to start buying, so that created momentum in the stock, and that allowed retail investors holding the stock get, more share appreciation because there was more liquidity for institutional investors to buy it. But I think the number one thing to take from this is that Palantir did it their way. They did it their way. And when you do something your way that is rooted in authenticity and that is rooted in the idea that we are not going to conform to the world, we're going to make the world conform to us if we want to actually be a part of the elite institutions of the world, which Palantir is a bit of a counter-institutional rebel type of culture, type of company in and of itself. The fact they were able to mold into what the S&P 500 wanted, and quite frankly, the S&P 500 committee probably realized it is a crime to not have Palantir as part of the committee, as part of the index, given everything they were seeing with momentum on the company. That led to getting included into the S&P 500. And it's a big deal. I still remember like it was yesterday. We were on the live stream. I think there was 6,000 people, 6,000 to 7,000 people with us watching to see if, there would be a reaction. Stock goes up 7%. None of us have the information yet, but we all pretty much think it's happened. And then we get the confirmation by one of you guys in the chat. Shout out to Charles, who has a Bloomberg terminal. He sent us the screenshot. Again, such a community effort to find this stuff out. And Palantir's up there as one of the names that's included. It was a really exciting moment. It was fun to see. I think it was something that people have been waiting on for a very long time. I could only imagine what Karp and management and the employees felt like, especially the ones that have been there for years, because Palantir actually has a decent amount of people out of the 4,000 that are working there that have been there for 10 plus years, right? So just an incredible moment, amazing stuff. S&P 500 for Palantir, and one of those moments that I think none of us will ever forget for the rest of our lives, and definitely in the story of Palantir. Okay, next moment. Taking a page from the S&P 500, I think this has to be up there in terms of the top 7 moments. Nasdaq. We got into the Nasdaq. So this is important. The S&P 500, I think, was a bit more important just because of the excitement and grandeur of being part of the S&P 500. But Palantir was very smart here. Palantir realized, wait a second, if we can get into both of these, the Nasdaq and the S&P 500, it's going to force the institutional guys to buy. And the institutional guys want to buy because they believe in Palantir, they believe in the story, they're willing to pay the premiums. But Palantir really strategically, in my opinion, transferred from the New York Stock Exchange to the Nasdaq. The Nasdaq obviously wants companies that are some of the best companies in the world to be in that Nasdaq 100. With the rebounds coming up, they announced this, I think, at the end of October or early November, they announced this. And then 2 weeks later, they were part of the Nasdaq exchange. And then 3 weeks later, they got rebalanced into the Nasdaq 100. Look, I think it's a big deal. It was strategic by management. There are many things that management has to do to be a fiduciary. This was a very strong fiduciary move, in my opinion, to get into the Nasdaq. It was a cherry on top to a phenomenal year. It created even more buying pressure on the stock because we had more institutions that wanted to buy in. That doesn't mean those institutions can't sell one day, but that does mean you get more people to get interested into the company. And ultimately, as retail investors, what do we need? We need the company, we need management at Palantir to effectively create a plan that gets people to buy the stock. Like at its core, forget the business, forget, what Palantir does, etc. They need buyers on the stock. And we all bought it in the single digits in 2022. And then we got in the 10s and the 20s. But I know most retail is not really buying anymore. So you need someone to buy it, and continued execution of growth is a way to get there. But also getting into these institutional indices and ETFs that allows more liquidity to enter into the stock so that people like us, if we want to sell, we have liquidity because there's someone willing to buy. And again, that didn't happen a couple years ago when there was no liquidity in terms of like active buyers that were willing to buy at a higher price because no one cared about Palantir. And so to me, I feel like retail did their work to analyze a company, look beyond the horizon, be a bit creative, try to figure out, what's going on in the stock, do what we needed to do. And now management is doing their duty of making sure more and more people are there willing to buy it and that actually care about buying it. And also, again, the Nasdaq, the S&P 500, these are big names, and Palantir's brand is associated with that name. It's just like if Palantir struck a deal tomorrow working with Tesla. Tesla's a great brand. That brand associated with Palantir actually matters. The brand of the Nasdaq matters. The S&P 500 brand matters. Some people might say, oh, well, they're just trying to, pump it into the institutions via these ETF flows. Okay, sure. Like, every company that works with another company is probably not doing the most important deal in the world. But like, for example, Salesforce partnering with NVIDIA. Like, is Salesforce actually doing something that special with NVIDIA? No. But like, it's NVIDIA, and NVIDIA's brand is the best brand in the world. And if you can leech off a little bit of that brand, that's good for your stock and your equity and your shareholders. So to me, management just made the right decision, figuring out how the hell do we capitalize on the momentum of the S&P 500. The best way to capitalize on it is if you take all of the brand equity you just got from the S&P 500 to the next level by then getting into the Nasdaq. So this caught me off guard. I had no idea this was happening. I remember the market close stream when this was announced, and I was like, what? They're going to the Nasdaq? And then I started realizing, holy crap, they're trying to get into the Nasdaq. They got a rebalance coming up. The Nasdaq probably wants Palantir in the ETF, and then boom, it happened. So I think that was another top moment of 2025 for Palantir. Of 2024. We'll hopefully have many more top moments in 2025. My third top moment of 2024 for Palantir is Elon Musk following the company on Twitter. Now, this moment is not literally Elon following Palantir as my moment. Rather, this moment is a metaphor for the relationship Palantir has built with Doge and with different entities inside of the government business to continue gaining momentum. So, why did Bank of America upgrade Palantir? They believe the government growth is going to keep going higher. Why did Palantir increase their government, or why did they reaccelerate their government revenue growth from 20% to almost 30%? They believe there is an outsized opportunity for them to capitalize on the increased spending of software, particularly in AI within the DoD, that will result in billions of dollars, tens of billions of dollars ultimately allocated to companies that can provide the best data operating systems and platforms like a Palantir. Elon Musk having his relationship with Trump was very important for Tesla. Trump's running mate is JD Vance. JD Vance has a very special relationship with Peter Thiel. I've made many videos on that. You guys can check that out. I'll probably put some in the description if you guys want to take a look at them. But we know the link between JD Vance and Peter Thiel. Elon Musk coming up with Doge, which is this government efficiency, agency, even though it's not like a legitimate agency, it's a commission, is very important because if the government is incorrectly spending money or misallocating capital, Doge, theoretically, we'll see how it works out, is a checks and balances, a hedge, at least from a public perception media entity to get people to realize, hey, the government's wasting money. Will they actually have power in Congress? Who knows? But that is something that perceptually could be something we look forward to going into 2025. Not only does Palantir have JD Vance in the White House, not only does Palantir have David Sachs, who is now the new AI czar in the White House, not only does Palantir have Peter Thiel, who has massive connections to JD Vance and David Sachs, Palantir has Alex Karp, who is a American patriot. Elon Musk has become very patriotic towards America. Elon Musk followed Palantir. Elon Musk commented on pictures with Palantir's logo, and Elon Musk shared videos of Alex Karp because of what Karp has been saying about American exceptionalism and how Western values need to be the best. So, and he shared that to his 200 million followers, and that video got 50 million views. So when you've got someone like Elon Musk on your side, following you, actually caring about your content, and then potentially having a link between government software spending that should go to the best companies, Elon, David Sachs, JD Vance all know that Palantir is one of the best software providers in the world that can actually save money. Meaning you can put in money and get back money. There's an input and output that you can effectively monitor, which is what Karp says is what creates legitimacy for the government. And that's what people have been missing inside of the government. Where is the legitimacy? The legitimacy is gone because we don't know how the government's spending our damn money. If you have legitimacy, because we understand how the government's spending money, and you have Palantir effectively able to save the government money because the people in the White House know that Palantir can save them money, that results in more deals, hypothetically, more revenue for Palantir, and a much stronger government business, with a much stickier moat that can last for the next couple of decades if Palantir is able to effectively build this government business. So Elon Musk following Palantir to me is him acknowledging, yeah, there is something exciting about Palantir. I mean, Palantir has been around for 10 years on Twitter. Elon never followed them. He follows them 2 weeks ago. Why? Right? Like, why? These are things that I think are important to think about. And if he's following them now because he probably believes there is a upwards trajectory for the company, then that is my top third moment in 2024 for Palantir, because that can result in a lot of government growth going into the next decade. All right, next couple moments. Let's run through these. Dan Ives, this is my number 4 moment. And this is the $75 price target upgrade. My top 4 moment is not really the Dan Ives $75 price target, but rather Dan Ives being super bullish on Palantir all year. He was one of the only analysts, along with Mariano from Bank of America, that actually understood the company back at around $15. He started engaging with the retail community that he has publicly acknowledged as one of the communities that was far ahead of everyone else on this name. And quite frankly, Dan Ives was actually talking to customers. And because he was talking to customers and those customers kept highlighting the use cases, he realized, oh, if the third order derivative of all this CapEx we're spending on GPUs is for software, and software has to show use cases, and Palantir is showing use cases, then it makes sense to buy Palantir. So I think Dan's consistent upgrading of the stock this year was very important from an institutional perspective to get people interested. But because of his brand and his weight on Wall Street, that made people listen to Palantir more than my YouTube videos that aren't as influential as Dan Ives. And so from that perspective, I think when he upgraded us from 30 to 35 to then 50 to then 75, it was kind of this incremental upgrade of realizing this story is real. It's not going anywhere. And I think, we didn't get a lot of upgrades this year. We got Bank of America, we got Dan Ives, we got a couple firms here and there, but the far majority of them are still neutral and they're saying stay away from it. Dan Ives is the only one that's like, nope, this is the name. And he's been pounding the table for a long time. So I think Dan Ives is up there in my top 7 moments in terms of the amount of excitement he has had for Palantir and the implications that had on the stock in 2024. My next moment is this clip from Karp that went a little viral. I'm going to play it right here.
We don't play golf. What we do is we play software. We will put, if you want to actually compete on your product. And what's very special, and yes, do I enjoy humiliating people who have better steak dinners and sharper knives and better golf swings? Yes, I do. You know what? I really like that we win in that way. It makes me very happy. And it makes our clients happy because let me finish.
Keep going, but we're getting close.
Great. Well, and why are our clients happy? Because American industry knows that this is a structural advantage and that needs the best products. And why is the boot camp overrun? We don't play golf. What we do is we play software.
It's just, you can't, every time I hear Karp speak with this level of excitement and energy, I'm just so excited and happy to be invested and be part of his journey. So why is that my top 5 moment? Well, it's not just because Karp had a mic drop there and that's exciting and stuff like that, but rather that video went viral on Daily Palantir, which is a Twitter account that I run. I've been running it for 2 years with a friend. And what's exciting is that the All In podcast ended up reacting to that clip on their podcast. Their podcast gets millions and millions of listens. And Chamath and the guys started talking about Alex Karp as a leader, as a CEO, as someone who doesn't give a shit about PowerPoints and steak dinners, but actually cares about winning and providing transformational value to their enterprise clients. So there's a couple layers to this reason as one of my top 5 reasons this year. Number 1, a community-oriented Palantir fan account got a clip of Karp to go viral because the content was so good because it's Karp. The virality of that community fan account got the biggest technology podcast in the world, All In, to then react to it and expose Karp to even more millions of people. And then they got to praise him on that podcast because of how good the content was. This is what it means to build a community of people that actually care about something, and that community allows outsized levels of alpha, asymmetry, and distribution on the underlying company and obviously the stock based on all of that alpha from the distribution that is achieved in the community. And it's not just that Daily Palantir account, but there's thousands and thousands of examples of so many people. Go Karp. I'm going to be doing a stream with him actually on Saturday, who finds all this government stuff. You got Arnie that breaks down all these analyst reports. Like, there's so many people in the community that find information, make it available, get the distribution behind that information to achieve an audience, to reach an audience. And then as a result, we get things like the Olin podcast potentially reacting to something that Karp says. So I think Karp's energy already is a top 5 moment for me. That in and of itself is worth many, many billions in Palantir's market cap. But the fact that the community is able to get these moments to get distribution, I also think is a big moment, and it's a community-driven effort, which is why it's been so exciting to build and help be a part of this community over the past couple of years. Number 6 in terms of my moments are AIPCon. So AIPCon, Palantir had 3 of them in 2024. This was me at the AIPCon halftime show. This was a really, really big moment for me, getting to host the halftime show. There's Chad, Jack, Natalie. We're interviewing one of the clients from Tampa General Hospital during this halftime show. Why is this in my top 6 moments? Well, Palantir basically hosted 5 events this year. They had DevCon, they had Grand Prix in New York City, And then they had 3 AIPCons. And I'm sure they had some other smaller events, but those are 5 major events. To me, when a company starts hosting events, when a company starts hosting multiple events per year with customers, investors, media, etc., that means that's a company that's becoming very mature. And when a company is becoming very mature, aka they're ready to share their vision with the world, and they want the coverage of the media to highlight the vision that they're showing to the entire world, that means they believe in themselves. And by hosting 3 conferences that are primarily customer driven and wanting the attention and the scrutiny that comes with hosting a good event, I mean, that just means that Palantir is in a different level. It's at a different level. It's on a different playing field. Most companies barely host one event, if they host one event per year. These are the NVIDIAs, the Amazons, the Salesforces, the Microsoft that are hosting these 1,000-person, 10,000-person events. Palantir is on its way to having a big stadium with 15,000 people one day listening to Karp. I mean, that will happen. Maybe it's not going to happen tomorrow. Maybe it's not going to happen next year, but they're on the trajectory of making that happen. And I think that's a top 6 moment this year that they were able to pull off these conferences, pull off these events, engage the community, people like me, get me out to those events so I can get the content for you guys. And yeah, I think it was just a really cool experience of them building out their marketing this year and getting more distribution around the people that care about Palantir to actually see the insides of Palantir. All right, my last moment for this year, the biggest moment, my top 7 moments. I don't know if this is my biggest moment, but this is definitely a good one. S&P 500 was up there, but I maybe we're saved the best for last on this one. Palantir re-accelerating revenue growth to 30%. This was in Q3 of 2024. Look, this was a big deal, folks. 30% revenue growth. The number one argument on Palantir was that they can't grow. Black box, unscalable consulting firm. They're never going to get to 30% year-over-year growth. Everyone had to shut the hell up and realize that this is a company that can grow. And now, given how the stock has rose, the expectations are higher and they've got to do more than 30%. And I actually think by the end of this year, they're going to get to 40%. Like, I really genuinely do believe that. Maybe I'm wrong, but I do think they will get there. I think we're just beginning. We're in the early innings of the Palantir growth story. I really do believe that, even if the stock has priced in a lot of growth. But they did it. They got to 30%. 30% is a magical number in SaaS world. You can't be below 30%, 29.9. People don't like it. You got to be at 30. Valuations are really justified based on the idea of if you can sustain 30% growth. 30% compounding as a tech company is not easy to do. A lot of people do 15%. A lot of people do 20. A lot of people do 25. But getting into that 30% range means you're at a different level of eliteness when it comes to being a tech company, especially a public tech company, because the scrutiny of publicly compounding 30% a year is not easy. I think Palantir is going to keep growing. And the fact that they were able to get that 30% number, get that 3 in front of a 0 on earnings, that day the stock went from 40 to 47, and then it took off, and now we're at 75. And I think the street really wants to see 30% growth. And we got it. And because we saw 30% growth, that's why we're here today. I think the future for Palantir is going to be very exciting in 2025. Again, I think those growth rates can go up. And ultimately, if Palantir is what we think it is, we should see more growth. There's not going to be every quarter where you get growth. Companies are allowed to have bad quarters. It is what it is. It happens. But Palantir had some crappy quarters in 2022, 2023. They got profitable near the end of 2023, maintained profitability in 2024, and then accelerated to 30% top line growth, which to me was one of the biggest things this year for the company. All right, that's it for me. Thank you, everybody, for listening and watching. Let me know your top 3, top 5, top 7 moments in the world of Palantir. I appreciate each and every one of you that were listening to the content, the channel, watching the show every single day last year of 2024. And let's keep it going for 2025. It has been one of the best journeys of my life, one of the coolest journeys of my life. I am very proud and grateful and humbled to be someone in the community that people look forward to in terms of hearing my thoughts and opinions on Palantir, and also, come to me as a source of information. And I hope in 2025, I can continue playing that role and be even better this year for everyone who cares about Palantir. Thank you, everybody, for watching. I love you guys. It means the world to me. And let's keep going and see what 2025 can do in terms of building momentum for Palantir.